Hey Flosstube, Pam here, stitching between the lines. Today is Tuesday, July 11th, and I have an update. Boy, do I have an update. Um, I'm gonna warn you. Take a minute, take a deep breath, go put your credit cards in the ice container of ice, put it in the freezer. I'll wait. You can come back. Pause me. I'll still be here. It's not even that I bought anything all that great. There's just been a lot going on. I it's actually a real red letter day. I I have to say have zero unfinished objects. Zero, zero, like zero as in none. That was an exciting revelation. I actually thought that about 2 weeks ago, and then I realized there were a couple things in a different spot than where I usually keep them. Usually I pin things to the design wall and they are there until I finish them to remind me that they exist. Sometimes there's a pile, there, whatever. It's been a whole hoopla of things. Um, I, I have a really big pile of things over here, so I'm just looking for something I want to reference. It might have to turn up on its own as we go because I really had a lot of things to gather to show everybody. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. Uh, uh, I'll start with progress because there's been some stitching. Quite a bit. Quite a bit of stitching. It's lucky summer hours, summertime. So anyway, let's go. Mill Hills, winter greetings, nothing exciting, not even close. I showed this. I had taken this with me when we flew out west as a potential stitch on the airplane, which I didn't do. I did stitch on the other one I took that I'll show you in a minute. But I keep this in my office where I have comfy lazy boy chairs, and sometimes I'm there. I can see these without my magnifier, so that's what's nice. So Frosty, where's my camera? Can you see it? Is done. The bulk of the stitching is blue on blue, so I'm doing that blue background stitching. Seems a little redundant when the paper's blue, but whatever, it's cute. You can see it coming together. It's nothing fabulous, nothing exciting, but a fun little thing to stitch. And then what did I do? Oh, my Heaven and Earth designs I finished up before, just the little tiny bit I didn't have finished, which was the flag, before 4th of July. There it is. The flag was the main thing. I did do parking and had all kinds of threads going, and at first I thought I would lose my mind because I spent more time putting thread back on needles, but you can't really leave the needles. It's a tangled up mess when you can't just pull the thread out real easy and quick. So what I have done is all the way over, including the flag. I have a page plus 3 columns left to do in the top section. So it's coming along. Each time I finish a page of this, the plan is to get out Let Freedom Ring and work on that. I didn't do that this time because 4th of July and all my kids were home, and my stitching chair where I work on these things is in our family room. I'm going to turn around and put this over here. And it's just too much stuff all over the place. The kids sit in that chair and stuff, so I didn't work on Let Freedom Ring. I put a couple stitches in, but we're just going to leave that out of today's update because it's really not a lot. I did end up bringing my Jan Lynn piece down. I've been carting it both downstairs and upstairs in all stitching chairs because it's an easy thing for me to stitch. And I am almost done according to my rules of where I'm going to stop with the section I'm going to do and then go back to the early Americans. So my goal was to do this quadrant, backwards, to do this quadrant. I have the Wonderland done. Oops, my needle went with it. I have that done. I did the heart, the little girl, and some of her background, and this piece of lace, which is so cute. It's very much like, reminds me of like when you do scrapbooking and you put a picture and there's things around it and behind it. And her face, I was afraid to do the outlining on her face. It's not, I haven't put her eyeballs in yet. So I kept outlining everything but her face, but her face not outlined kept freaking me out because it really was kind of frightening looking. So finally I did the outlining, which on the pattern I had a nightmare of a time figuring out what they were trying to tell me to do with those eyes, even which colors to stitch it with. It's just a lot going on in a very tiny space. So what I am going to do is put some French knots in for her eyeballs, I believe using a brown. We'll see. I could put them in, take them out a few times to see. And then there is a little bit of background outlining that goes on behind her that will take very little time to do. But I want to do a little bit of this tree, the stitching that starts this tree, so when I come up to the border, I don't know, I want to have some stitching to run my outlining next to. So she'll be done in just very small amount of time. So she's cute, and then she'll go away while the Early Americans come out. I have to reach this over here too. In the Early Americans, I actually, I'm not going to say I cheated because it's my world, my cross stitch. I do what I feel like, but I started on John Hancock before I finished the section on Winter Sampler, Jan Lynn Designs. You all saw the paper. I held it up there. And the reason I started on it, and it's going to be a funny start that needs a little bit of explaining. See him there? His house. The reason I started it is that I got this in the mail. Sorry, I have to reach it. The Elbacy lap frame. Saw this. Primitive Stitcher showed hers and talked about it, and when I saw that, I thought, ooh, that might really work for me because I can set it on my lap and get this tall enough to be close enough to my face, which is a problem with a lot of frames. I can't get it close enough. So I bought it. She had given a store or website in England. I found it on Amazon. Probably came from the very same place in England because it did come from England. And let me drop that down a little bit. It's very easy to use. Things adjust very nicely, very evenly. I have the frame. I've used it a couple times. I can't decide if it helps me stitch any faster, but I will use it. I might not use it exclusively and only on every piece. But if I have been stitching a lot, my knuckles, I feel it in my knuckles, and sometimes it's downright painful to hold, because I stitch in hand, to hold things. So I will be able to switch over to the frame and get some relief. So anyway, let's go back to the Early Americans and why the roof looks like it does. A couple weeks ago, Yvonne, the Night Owl Stitcher, talked about, I'm pretty sure, right, Yvonne, it was you, talked about when she was in a class or at a retreat or something, somebody suggested, and I really think it was a designer, but I don't know. I remembered what I needed to remember, and the rest went out. When talking about doing these big sections of color with over dyed floss, to stitch a little bit willy-nilly, 3 over, 2 down, whatever, this kind of thing, to not get that ribbon effect, striped effect. And I did that on the grass. And I think it turned out pretty well. I really felt like I was challenging myself to something, because there's, of course, not just square. You had to make sure as you're going all willy-nilly that you stayed within your parameters. So I'm doing that with the roof. So there's a little bit of willy-nilly stuff going on that, and I've started to outline the first window. There's 3 of them. So once I'm done, I figured once I was done with a length of thread up here, I would actually stitch the windows, and then that would help give me the foundation for where to stitch when I'm stitching all willy-nilly with the called for color here. And then I got Nathan Hale in the mail last week, and I was looking at its colors, making sure there wasn't anything new that I needed to order, any new colors. So I was comparing what I had on my little ring of colors with what it said on the back of the pattern, and I discovered the green that stitches the grass is supposed to be mossy. I'm looking on here, and of course, John Hancock doesn't call for the green, so I can't even tell you if it's weeks, but it calls for mossy, probably Crescent Colors or Classic Color Works. I keep all of my overdyes in Flossaway bags in an old card catalog drawers alphabetically, and I will separate them by brand. Sometimes they have the same name, and one is Weeks and one is Crescent Colors. But what I pulled out, it was probably Crescent Color Mossy that was calling for, and what I pulled out was Weeks Moss and stitched the grass with it, which looks just fine. So I'm going to have to stick with the moss for the rest of it so that it doesn't look freaky that I've changed greens. I don't think it's that much different, but I had a lot of moss and apparently no mossy, so that's what we're doing. This is being stitched on a piece of 32 count Murano oatmeal from the Crafty Kitten, which is lovely. Lovely to stitch on. So that's my progress. That's not the stuff that's all that exciting. It's going to make you want to race out and buy anything new. So I'm trying to decide which way I'm going to go, what I'm going to show you. Shall I save the best for last? First, I'm going to talk about videos and video lengths and video uploading. My plan is to try to keep to 30-ish minutes. I watch people's videos. People tell me different things. They like the quick little update. They like a whole long hour. I watch some videos where after a while, when I see they have one and it's an hour long, I wait a while until I really have the time and need something to fill it to watch the whole hour, especially since some people, no negativity intended, this is me, my preference, what I have time for, it ends up being a lot of rambling nonsense that just means nothing. Nothing. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not even going to be specific. Sometimes I fast forward. So anyway, oh, and 30 minutes. We talk. I really have to laugh when people talk about how long uploads take. So I did a roughly 30-minute video, and it took 24 hours to upload. And I used the exact same method because it worked on the last video I made, which was maybe 42 minutes. It took, are you ready? 30 hours. Took 30 hours to upload. That's 30 hours where I try to stay off the internet and not watch Flosstube or Hulu or Netflix, and that works well and good when it's me and only me home. It does not work even a tiny bit when my kids are home. Not even a little bit. So somebody suggested, after I commented on how long my last video took, Jilly Pepper, who's looking out for me. I always love that. She always has great stuff to say. Suggested going to a coffee shop and uploading there. I've given that thought because I can go to my local grocery store, which has a very nice cafe, and you could sit there for hours and nobody would notice because it's big, and you know, people come and sit and they have a meal and then they go grocery shopping, or maybe somebody sits and has coffee while whoever they're with does their grocery shopping, or you meet and visit. But when I was in Florida and I videoed and I uploaded from my laptop where I have good internet in Florida, and it still took a couple hours. So that's why I never thought, I really don't want to go sit in Starbucks for 2-3 hours, or even the grocery store cafe for 2 or 3 hours. And how would I leave my computer when I have to go to the ladies' room? Really? Am I going to trust somebody? I don't know. So anyway, I am maybe going to upload this like I did last time, where I get it from my iPad to my Mac desktop. from my Mac desktop, I put it on a jump drive into my laptop, and that's where I do the uploading. Why? I don't really know. I could try it from the Mac, but I don't know. I feel like I've had failures there before. And I will go to the library. I have a meeting at the library tomorrow, so I am going to take my laptop and see if I can get it uploaded. I'll only be there at the most an hour and a half, so we'll see if I can get it up that fast or not. So we'll see. I'll give it a try. Otherwise, I'll bring it home and I'll start the process. So anyway, let's get back to the happy stuff. So I have finished things, and some of the, I think everything you've seen me finish, like I've shown it finished, but not FFO'd. I don't like a lot of the terms that are being used for stitching things. I'm not into cutesy names or shortening things or whatever. Whip, that's good. We use that in accounting. You know, you have to do the accounting for whips, works in process. And so anyway, whips I like, but FFO pretty much says it. So ornamental joy, which was Little House, Country Cottage. I don't have the pattern anymore. I finished as this flat. It just prop it up on a bookshelf wherever. This came out so cute. This is so thrilled. And look at, I bordered it in this cute little trim. You see that? Isn't that cool? That I just love. And this was just fabric I had. These things take me forever because I have to lay them out. I have to think about the fabric. I have to sample the fabric. I have to lay it with the fabric. I have to leave it for a couple days. I have to come back and decide. So anyway, that was a delight. This is maybe the biggest thing I've ever finished myself. So we'll put that over here. And then whoops, what is it stuck on? I did this little Mill Hill. I did this, most of it, when we flew out west. I stitched on the plane for a while and stuff, and when we had some time. And I finished it similar. I didn't watch Vanna's video again, but she finished, I think it was one of the pieces that goes on those wooden sleds. I think she finished it into like an ornament style that looked like this. I didn't go back and look. I just went from my brain what I remembered, and I had bought one of the little things that puts the eyelet through, but it wouldn't go through this much thickness because I used 2 pieces of cardboard. So there's the back, here's the front. I'm not really sure how much I'm in love with this. Red ticking is one of my favorite fabrics, ticking of any color. I don't know. I've done many beaded ornaments, and I always just back them in some felt. So I think it's me in my brain needing to see these beaded ornaments differently. Anyway, oh, and because I couldn't get the little eyelet thing through, I just poked a big needle through and then I had some really skinny little ribbon. So there's that. Whoops. I dropped it on the floor. And then this was one of the ones a piece I did in the spring. I had pulled it out more than once, and it was all kitted up with all kinds of thread pulled from my Floss Away bag stash. So I just finally stitched it up. I'm not entirely sure what to say on the subject of this one. It came with this little bit of trim down here, and I just mounted it on another board that's covered in this pink. And the pink fabric, and I knew this would happen. You can see it's a mottled pink, and they're not rigidly straight stripes. I tested all kinds of fabric to see what I liked best with this piece, and this pink did it. But I feel like it gives the illusion that maybe things aren't straight. Who I'm just going to say, who sees this stuff but me? It's in my house. It's propped up somewhere in the summer. Honestly, I know nobody's studying up on it. So there's that. And then I did, and this wasn't even in my lineup of things to do that I showed you, but I had the magazine from last year. I showed it on my blog last summer. It's a cross-stitcher magazine. I just picked it up at Joann Fabrics, and it had a free pattern in there to do something I did. Some American flags. Some flags. Oh, it involves showing the pattern. I know it was free, but I really don't know if I'm supposed to be showing it. So I did that flag on the bottom and left the crown off of it. I did 2 of them. And they're upstairs with on display with patriotic things. But Oh, I forgot to bring something down here. Darn. I have a little bowl. It's a little plaid bowl, and I got it at a thrift store, and it came from like Williams Sonoma, and it's really cute. It's a little bowl. It's not very big, and it's blue and white plaid, and I have some fake strawberries in it that are beaded. They're very pretty, very rich in the red color. So I saved out, this magazine was laying out to remind me that these would really make cute little smalls to display with that cute bowl of strawberries, which I will try to I will contemplate taking a picture. I'll take a picture. That I can do. I will see if I can get that inserted in here before I go on the marathon upload. I don't know. We'll see my skills. Anyway, I got the bowl out and the strawberries. I stitched one of these, and I just picked threads that matched my plaid bowl and my deep, rich beaded strawberries. And it came out so cute. Stinking cute. That's what I'm going to say. I did the beaded edge, which is my go-to small finish. Years ago, Stacy, oh dear, I should have looked this up. Stacy, she used to be very active on her blog. I'll try and look it up and put it down below. She did a tutorial on how to do this, and I watched it, and it was perfect. Now, what was very tedious and becomes very tedious is I was using white thread on white fabric, and so to do the beading, it is just, I really struggled. And the other thing that I did, and this is my own stupid, is this is not square. No matter how much it looks square, the one side is about 8 X's longer than the other. And when I matched up my back and front, I matched a side to a bottom, and I started on the corner. Corners are the hardest, so I started a few beads before the corner and wrapped around the corner and was going swimmingly along. Was just what appeared to be a few stitches from the next corner, but then the other piece had about 8 stitches from the next corner, and so I had to take the whole thing out and start over. There's no hanger because it's meant just to be propped. It is full of walnut shells, which make for just a lovely finish. Crushed walnut shells. I don't like to use crushed walnut shells when I make an ornament because the weight of them, you start to see the piece sagging. So this one will not always hang. It will lay, it will prop, it will, hopefully not cause any significant stretching of my piece. So anyway, there's that one. And I have a piece of fabric and saved all the threads, and I'd like to do one of these baskets of berries also. So that'll just be a quick little ditty that I'll do sometime when I'm not in the mood to work on one of the 4 giant things I have going. And that's all I have are 4 big things. And my little Mill Hill kit, but that's not in the normal course of my stitching. So then, I'm not a really big, I don't show you. Oh, I just saw on the floor what I'm really here for today. Honestly, I'll quit talking about my purchases and just show them. I was at my stitching store today, which is really why I'm here, and I picked up this, which is, I don't even know what it's called, Down East, which has all the elements of what I love in a piece. It has a boat, it has a bike, it has something nautical. It is really cute. It was, when I went to the store, it was on the new shelf with new things, and I had to have it. I just loved it. And then I've been back and forth with Nicole of Buckeye Stitcher about a piece she's working on. First, Marlene showed it. I'm taking the price off. Marlene showed it by the Stitching by the Lake, and I loved it, and I looked, and I gave it some thought, and then I didn't buy it, and now Nicole is stitching it, and so I bought it. So it is Ebenezer's Christmas, and Erica Michaels. It is a piece that can be done in 3 separate little sayings or all in one. On this particular example, they have stitched solid the background, which is not on my wish list of things. Here it is stitched without all that background. I do intend to do it on one. I love A Christmas Carol. I played Emily Cratchit in a school play. So It's the only time I was ever in a school play. I was Emily Cratchit. Love that story. We've seen the play many, many times. There's a theater in our nearest big city that puts it on every winter for the month of December, every Christmas. We have seen it many, many, many times. And I've read the book and we watched the movie. I watch all kinds of different versions of the movie. Our favorite is A Muppet Christmas Carol because, you know, with the kids, we just think it's hysterical. So anyway, and then I'm not blaming anybody who showed this recently. But I am just such a huge fan of it. Anytime there's that car with the tree on top. I had just bought some of these larger Mill Hill to put by my upstairs stitching chair. And this one was not one of the ones offered at my store. So I ordered that. I had to order from Silver Needle. Just had to. And they had it. If you've never ordered from the Silver Needle, you can see I ripped into this like I was a fiend. Everything comes really cute wrapped, and there's always some individually wrapped Jelly Bellies in there, so that's a really nice treat. I opened the mail yesterday in the car. My husband and I were driving somewhere, and I opened it, ripped it in, and the little Jelly Bellies were falling around, and I ate the first one. And he said, "What is that?" And I said, "They're Jelly Bellies. You want one?" The only flavors left were pink, and, you know, I said, the only ones left are pink. I already just ate the coconut one. So pink, running the risk of it being bubble gum or pink lemonade. He was not interested. So that worked well for me. So anyway, I ripped into my little package, and that's where Ebenezer's Christmas and the Mill Hill came from. But the other thing that I bought, because, you know, that's the way it works, do you remember last time I showed you, well, I called it Instant Winter. It's in French, and I really think it means moments of winter, and this is moments of summer. None of my girls are around for me to ask for the exact translation. Instant to me meant whatever. I don't know. So anyway, somebody asked where I got it, and I told her, and I went on that website, and they didn't have the winter one anymore, but I found it at Silver Needle, so there's my tip. The Silver Needle has the winter one that I did, and they had the summer one. And honestly, here we are, back to the elements of things. If it's in the picture, I want to stitch it. Boat, water, palm tree, nautical. Lovely. So I bought that. And then I've been back and forth about fabric to do this that I also showed last time, the Slicker Parade. Kathleen of Kathleen's Trodden Trail is stitching it, wants to stitch it, got it too. Long story. Well, I won't even drag that one out, but I don't want to stitch the whole sky. I would like the sky, the fabric to speak for the sky. All right, did that make sense? So on the Silver Needle website, they had Picture This Plus Storm, and I thought that looked great. So I ordered it, and of course they called me to say, we don't have any, what else can we send you? They had lots of things that they described, and I was looking online at the same time, that were very stormy, like nightmare-ish, like not scary. This is not supposed to be a scary storm. This is about these cute little children in their rain slickers and umbrellas. So she said to me, we know that pattern, both of us that are working, and we think that this piece of Weeks gunmetal will work. So I believed them. Sorry, I'm opening it. I don't know why, because I don't like it. It is a general rule, I don't like Weeks fabric. So anyway, I got the gunmetal. I let her send me the gunmetal. I bought today at Walmart today, I bought some Rit dye, gray pearl. Could be we'll be lightening up this sky a little bit. We'll see. I haven't dyed fabric in a long time since I did, what is it? The make and bake, shake and bake, dye and bake, coffee bake. I don't know. I did that. I think possibly, again, it was Nicole of Buckeye Stitcher. We commiserated about ours really kind of burnt. So it was more like stain and bake and burn. I don't know what we called it. Do you hear my clock? Back to the Christmas music thing. When I come to my sewing room, sometimes I lose all track of time. So having a clock that reminds me that the hours are actually passing by is a good thing. Okay, we're at 30 minutes, and I really saved the best for last. I went to my shop and picked up my framing. I have to pick it up. It's on the floor. Honestly, I don't even know which to show you first. This is so awesome. This is what's going to make you want to run right out and buy these patterns and stitch them up and figure out where to frame them like mine. Isn't that, let's see, isn't that unbelievable? I mean, is that frame not, I mean, seriously, that frame was made for this piece, is what the shop owner said. It's like this frame was created simply for this piece. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, beautiful. Seriously. I don't know where to hang this where I can see it all the time. Every room that I go to. Only to be replaced by, what was this one called? The Night Before Christmas, Happy Christmas. It was I talked about this so many times, all the times in my videos. And it was a PDF, and it was Cooler Designs. It was a Cooler Design one. And it's kind of the vintage postcard type look. I mean, look at that. Honestly, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? That distressed. Let's see if we get the light good. That red distressed, and then this is a second framing. They do, you know, so when I'm really splurging on a piece, this is what we end up doing, is the two piece. Oh my gosh, seriously. If this stuff ends up in a thrift store someday, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I better have zero memory in my mind that I ever made this. If my kids start sneaking them out of the house because mom has too many. What do you say? We do it every now and then. I have that feeling like, why am I doing this? Where is this stuff going to end up? It makes us happy. I guess when I'm dead and gone, I won't care what somebody does with it. I once rescued one from, I think it was a rummage sale. And I honestly really did it for the frame, so I can't even claim the honor of doing it just to save it. I wanted the frame. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. My kids, I don't talk about my kids a whole lot. I refer to them occasionally. But my kids, my oldest daughter is a middle school teacher, bought our first house. And I don't even know where to begin on this whole long journey we've been on with the kids this summer. All we really do is move them. That's what it comes down to. All we do is move our children. So our son's lease was up at the end of June. So we went to him with a trailer. He lives about 2 hours away. Loaded up his stuff. His next apartment wasn't going to be available until yesterday. Loaded up his stuff, brought it home. And then later that very same week, we moved my daughter from her apartment to her house, which is very exciting, but it was very exhausting. When we moved my son has some big strapping boy friends who can, haul stuff. Male friends, what do you say? My daughter doesn't have so much. She just has us. My son came home to help. And she has things like a washer and a dryer, and it's a townhouse she bought, and so she's got an upstairs and a downstairs, and so it's a long day of work. My husband's still going over all the time to get things set up, like her washer hooked up and the microwave installed over the stove and just things. So anyway, she's in. I think we're done moving her. We have one more piece of furniture coming, but somebody's delivering that. My son is ready to be moved to his new apartment, so we will be doing that this weekend. So I'm hoping moving in goes easier, because when they're moving out, Mom is the one cleaning things to make sure the security deposit comes back. My son, I did make him clean some things, but really it's Mom who's cleaning to make sure the security deposit comes back. I've taken my vacuum with me, my bucket of tools. Anyway, it's not very exciting, not even a tiny bit. So we'll get recovered from moving my son just in time to take my daughter back to college, who's living in a townhouse this year. I think it's furnished. She thinks it's furnished. I'm not sure she's ever seen it. Usually by this time in college, they're driving themselves there with their car full of crap. But when they move into someplace like that, they need extra things. Like my daughter, when she lived in an apartment, needed her own bed, even though there was other furniture in the house. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. Hopefully stitching. Hopefully I'm going to stitch a whole lot, minus a day for moving. The last moving expedition of the summer. And then we can settle down and my daughter can settle into her senior year of college, which is all very exciting because it's my last one. I was thinking I got the bill. I got the bill the other day and I thought, yes, my last fall's tuition bill. That doesn't count grad school. When you're a teacher in New York State, you have to have a graduate degree within a certain amount of time. So my oldest daughter's done with that. My son toys around with getting his graduate degree, but his major is not education, so it isn't as immediate as the daughters. But my youngest is scoping out what her options are. I imagine she will probably end up with a job because schools where she subs and spends some time there already asking when she graduated. So, anywho, that's it. I need my hobby. Enjoy it much. All right, 36 minutes. So what are we looking at? 20, somewhere between 24 and 30 hours. 28 hours? I don't know. We'll see. We'll go to the library and see what we can do. So have a good July. Hopefully I'll have some progress to get back before too long. I'm heading to Florida, where I get a lot of stitching done. I have a project down there I was planning on leaving down there and working on. It's not even started. I may have to take one of these big babies because overwhelming me that I have 4 big pieces all in the early stages. So anyway, have fun. Bye.